every single thing you want in life requires you to do, think, speak, pray, whatever, insert verb here, differently. That's just a plain thought of it. Everything that you've gotten up to this point is not from what you did yesterday. It's not what you did a month ago, realistically. It's what you've learned and thought about and done for the past 5, 10, 15, however old you are years. And even then, the things that you've done over those course of those years comes back to, what did your parents teach you? What did you learn from your school? What did you learn from your indoctrination into this thing called life? I'm Laurence. I'm the founder of KandL, and I provide mindset and coaching and training for, it's usually going to be millennial introverts, especially men, because I was you. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I'm anywhere close to where I want to be in life, and I'm not saying I'm the guru, or as a great Tony Robbins documentary is like, I'm not your guru. Your coach is not your guru. Only person that you need to follow is God. And even then, if you don't follow God, you have some kind of standard you follow. Someone somewhere taught you something they learned from someone else who they incorporated and taught to you. If you're here on YouTube, you probably have parents. Your parents had parents, or at least someone who taught them something, who taught you something that you learn and that you think through day to day. So on this Monday, I like to do a little mindset message. I'm thinking about, I'm going to start calling it money message, not because money is important, but because money is a reflection of everything that you've done in life. The money that you make in your job, in your business, etc., is a reflection of your thought process. What do you think you're worth? What job did you take? What school did you go to? What study did you take? For example, in my job, I make a very average salary for what it is in the mental health care field. Mental health care does not pay very well. I went into mental health care because I believe in holistic treatment and thinking the thoughts you have literally can control and create the life that you live. That's why people who are very, very well off but they're unhappy are unhappy, because like, you have all the money in the world to solve your problems. And yes, money does solve your problems, but you're unhappy. Or you have people who are, like when I've worked with the homeless population, or when my wife worked with the homeless population and would tell me stories, you have people who had nothing, jack squat. But they were happy. They were satisfied because they were like, okay, I accept my situation. Now, could you do something to be different? Sure. But I remember when I worked at Lifetime Fitness, when I started, it was in client relations, whatever it's called. And it was almost minimum wage job. And you had to buy or at least it was taken out of your first uniform was bought for you. The rest of it, however many you buy, you have to buy yourself. So if you're a minimum wage worker who's working their first job, let alone if you're homeless trying to work your first job, you have to pay for the thing to work the job, right? That's how you're indoctrinated. The things you think of, the work that you do, the life that you live, you forget that there's a step to get there. You think, oh, if I just think, I'll grow rich. Kind of, but if you actually read the book Think and Grow Rich, or anything about the law of attraction and abundance, you have to do some work to get there. For better, for worse, for good or bad, like going back to the example of the homeless population trying to get their first job, it's not that easy. It's not. Life is not easy. Life has always been very difficult. Life is a bunch of difficulties stacked on stacked on stacked. But you get to choose what difficulty you want to live in. I would much rather, like when people say, I don't want to make more because then I pay more in taxes. But you make more. Wouldn't you rather pay more in taxes versus rely on government subsidies? Like that makes no sense. My dad told me a story once when he first came to America. He was buying groceries for the family. He was in line behind someone who used, in Texas, I think it's Star or whatever it is. It's welfare, like a welfare card for certain products. And so my dad was like, wait, how do I get one of those? Because he was new. He didn't understand how that worked. They don't have that in the Philippines. There's no welfare in other countries. So when you complain about America, you're stupid. But, so he asked, hey, where do I get that? And the guy looked at him like embarrassingly and angrily, like, why are you asking me that? Walked away. And my dad would tell me the story, and he was like, I didn't know what that was. So you're either so poor that people buy you stuff, or you're so rich you don't have to care. Which would you rather have? I think you'd rather be so rich you don't care. Dean Graziosi, this is where I first learned it, like every problem you have can be solved with money. Now, I'm not saying like you're going to find fulfillment. I'm a firm believer that you can buy happiness. You cannot buy fulfillment. Like I am fulfilled waking up to my wife and my dog and saying like, this is going to be a great day. Money doesn't buy that. If we were living under the bridge, knock on wood, I would still wake up next to my wife. I would still wake up with my dog and say, This may not be where we want to be, but we can get back to where we were, etc. Hopefully that's not foreshadowing. But that's a mindset. The same reason people with millions of dollars sleeping in $100,000 bedroom sets can say, I'm not happy. I hate my life. I don't like this. You can buy happiness, you can't buy fulfillment. So on that end, that comes back to your mindset. What are you thinking about? What are the thoughts going in your head that you think you're having? But the reality is that every thought that you have, most people, when you have a conversation with them, you're not having a thought with them. You're having a thought with everything they've been ingrained with. And that's that Dean Graziosi quote I referenced earlier. Every problem can be solved with money. If you have a car problem, throw money at it. Just write a check. I think he says cut the check. If you're hungry and you want different food, or you're on a health journey and you want to be like jacked, ooh, look at that. Y'all, I do it like this because I think it's funny, but when I come out and I'm like, oh damn, look at that. Cut a check. You want to eat it better? You have to cut a check. You want a better job? Guess what? You're gonna have to get training. Cut a check. You want better coffee? As you can tell, I had great coffee this morning. Free reign coffee. Come on, let's sponsor this. Cut a check. You want to learn something different? Buy a book. This is a $100 Bible. Actually, I think it's $150. We got it on because we're like founders people, not founders. We're one of the first people to buy the special edition, so it's cheaper. So it's an investment property, right? This is $150. I think I bought it for like $80. Cut a check. You want a different job? Cut a check. You want to hire a recruiter? Cut a check. You want your wife to love you again and give you, like, have more sex with you because you're like, oh my God. This is where I learned the lesson. Your wife, as a man, your wife is stressed. She's so stressed because she has to work a job because you can't pay the bills. She's stressed because she has kids running around. You can't hire a babysitter. You can't hire a babysitter to take her out at night, to go on a date night every week because she doesn't go out on dates with you. She doesn't give a shit about you. She doesn't care. Not because she doesn't love you, but because she doesn't have the capacity, because what's right in front of her is not your sexual needs. What's right in front of her is there's kids running around and I can't take care of them. I gotta feed them, I gotta pack their lunch, I gotta take them to school, I gotta do this. Oh my God, their school sucks, but we can't afford to move different houses and districts so we can pay for a better school. Cut a check. You want your wife to stress less? Make more money so you can cut the check to hire someone to help clean. You can hire a babysitter every weekend so you can take your wife out to a nicer restaurant than just Burger King down the road. You have choices. It goes back to that idea that if your money is spent on bills and bills and bills and you don't have anything left over, guess what you're stuck with? You're giving your wife the remnants. You're putting everything else above her. You're putting everything above yourself. You're putting everything above God. Because how many poor people say, thank God for this day? Far, far less than the people who are wealthy and can pay and cut that check and say, thank God for this opportunity. How many times do you wake up in the morning and you think, oh my God, it's another day I gotta trudge through? Yesterday, I told my wife, like, hey, I got tomorrow off. And she, oh, no. Today I had off from my 9 to 5. And my wife yesterday was like, oh, you're off tomorrow, right? I'm like, thank God. And I meant that, like, thank God I have a work where I can take time off. Thank God I have the time to use time off. Thank God I have a whole day to work on a business and do the things I want to do. But then she took it as, aren't you grateful you have a job? Aren't you grateful for all these things? Like, why are you complaining? My perspective is different than her perspective because we learn different things. My wife, her family had to work very, very hard to get to where they're at. They didn't have anything handed to them. So her perspective is you should be grateful for work. I am grateful for work, but I also have the perspective of I am very blessed that my parents didn't struggle like she did. Like, honestly, not in the same way. That's not to put down anyone. That's not to put her down. It's not to put you down for watching this and trying to be better. But there's a perspective you grow from because of your upbringing. So my upbringing was, I have time to work on things that better us. Thank God. But she took it as, thank God I don't have to work. Like, I joke with her, I want to be a stay-at-home dad with a rescue ranch where I'm sitting on the front porch with my coffee. Free reign coffee. You guys are my, like, jam now. My dog's just chilling with me. My wife loves her job. It's a very in-person job. She has to do it and she wants to do it, so she chooses to do it, right? I just watched that ranch. That's my dream. So when I say I want to be a stay-at-home dad with a rescue ranch, a couple kids running around with my dog. She's like, no, you're gonna have a job though. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna have a job. I'm gonna have work because I gotta afford all these things. That's my goal. But that perspective comes from the fact that I am very blessed to have had at least one parent in the household at all times. My mom and dad I'm thankful that they're still married. They're great people. I had a great upbringing, and I want that for my kids. You may not have had a great upbringing. My wife's dad died when she was younger, so she only had a single mom home that she understands from the conception. Like, I can make these memories. She has great memories before and after his death, but it's overall what she remembers is after his death, seeing her mom struggle. So for her perspective of money life is different than mine because I had someone at the home. I didn't really experience money problems, but I did hear from my family there wasn't enough. I had my parents have very good jobs, great pensions, happily retired now. They had great jobs, but I always heard, there's not enough money, not enough. Because of the choices we made and we're blessed with to have. You are in your situation because you made those choices that put you here. There's not enough money at the end of the day. Yeah, but you spend $1,000 or you spend $100 on random drinks at the bar, which give you no return. Maybe you met some friends who might connect you. Cool, awesome. But read Curtis Jackson 50 Cent's book, Hustle Smarter, Hustle Harder, where he's like, I sell alcohol. And at alcohol introduction parties, people drink alcohol, but I don't. So I'm clear and I can hear what people are telling me, so I can build relationships without that mental fog of being drunk. It's the same thing. There's mental fog because you are so used to, oh, but I have to drink alcohol to have fun. I have to go to school to make a lot of money, which is a lie. I have to do this, that, and the other to do what I want to do in life. But I have to have a boss. How many things in your life where the mental fog's not because you're doing anything wrong. It's just that you're stuck in a pattern in this little box in the head of yours that's keeping you in the same place. And you're like, I don't know how to get out of the situation. But you won't learn something new. You won't accept, not that you won't learn it, because you can read this all day, but what are you doing about it? Whatever book you have, whatever education you're taking, are you just taking it to just pass a class? Like, that's what, I love the university I went to. Love it. I don't think college itself is a scam. I think the business of college is a scam, but learning itself is not a scam. You're gonna learn for the rest of your life. But there comes a point where you have to say, 2 + 2 is 4. You don't have to think about that, right? But if you, I like this example. If I have 2 apples and I have 2 apples, how many apples do I have? 4. 2 + 2 is 4. If I have 2 apples and 2 oranges, how many apples do I have? If you say 4, it's like, no, you're wrong. You say, I have 2 apples, right? Are you able to take the information that you have? For example, in this Bible, there's all this information, but can you digest it for yourself and put it out in the world to say that you are who you are based on who you want to be? You're not where you want to be because you're stuck in a habit of thinking that got you to where you're at. Albert Einstein said it like, you won't get anywhere new with the same thought pattern that got you to where you are. In the Bible, Paul says, when I was a child, I thought as a child. As an adult, I think as an adult. As a man, I now think as a man. The way you are now is not what's going to get you to where you want to go tomorrow. But tomorrow, when you get to where you want to be, every single piece led up to that point that you're at now or then. Right? The future you is dependent on what you're doing right now. So what can you do now? What can you do today to make that choice, to make tomorrow easier, to make tomorrow better, to make the next 20, 30, 50 years better? Because you're not guaranteed the 20, 30, 50 years. But what if you make it 50 years? And that's that balance you have to learn for yourself. How do you take this information that you have now, consolidate it, put it together, so that tomorrow you're like, oh, I'm glad I did that. It's like what we all joke about. If you had a time machine, what would you have done? Well, I would have told myself to invest in Apple. You wish you knew that back then. You wish. You can't do anything about it now. You can look forward with what you know about. You can take and honor the past Consolidate it into your today so that tomorrow you do something that your future self will thank you for. Plain as that. It's that easy, really. It is that easy. Oh, I can't just make $1 million like that. You really, literally can. If I took this, I broke my thumbs playing sports. So I have this little finger extensor stretcher muscle trainer. If I took this and put it online for $1 million and some rich dude was like, okay, sure, goodbye. I just made $1 million. Literally. Just like that. It really is that easy. Oh, that's an extreme example. Is it really? This Bible is $100, and we're going to test my math here. If I sold 10,000 of these, right? I think that's it. I made $1 million. There's what? 8 billion people on this planet? You don't think 10,000 people have $100 to buy this? It is that easy. We overcomplicate it because all through your life you've been taught money's hard, money's difficult, money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work hard for a boss, but don't do anything else for yourself because you have to make sure you do everything on your company's time. We've taken the message too far, right? Like, you are your own person. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. Do whatever it makes you happy. Do whatever. As long as you're not hurting anyone, you're not taking advantage of anyone, you live honestly, what are you worried about? On that note, that's your Monday mindset message. I'm Laurence with KandL. You have a few more resources down below. If you're ready for coaching, we have one-on-one coaching and group coaching that I'm opening up come 2025. In December on the lead up, what I'm doing is I'm doing a Bible study over the book of Job in the Bible. The reason I'm using Job is we probably all know the story, general gist of Job, but I want to get into where does it fit with you as a man and your anger, your jealousy, your emotions, because as men, we weren't taught to deal with our emotions. You go to church and they tell you, we don't talk about emotions here. We're happy, clappy little pastors, and God is good, and God will always be good. But then when you're going through life and the temptation that God came down as Jesus Christ, and you're dealing with lust, you're dealing with anger, you're dealing with all these things, your pastors, most churches are just like, we don't talk about that. We go to a Bible study group, and they're like, well, I don't know how to talk about that. Because we've never had that conversation. And maybe you don't need to jump right into it and be like, oh, this is everything I've done in the rest of my life. That can scare some people. But rather, what's a slow, incremental step that you can do today to be easier tomorrow? How do you turn your stressing into a blessing? Yeah? Until then, all those links are going to be below. Coaching, little courses that are mini audio courses that you can learn from. It's like having me in your pocket. You already have me in your pocket on this little YouTubes, but it's more personal there. If any of this message resonated with you and you feel called, it just helps you. That's what we're here for. That's all we're here for in this life. It's just to serve and to make the generations following us a little happier, a little better, a little, I won't say easier, but it's giving the next generation the best step that they have. Until then, whenever you're watching, listening to this is Laurence with KandL. Good morning, and peace, love, and light. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Signing off.